What's up, everybody? I am back with a new movie review of the Borderlands film, the adaptation of the iconic video game franchise. And I do have a lot to say, but before I continue, please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the film if you've seen it, and are you Borderlands fans yourselves? And yeah, this movie was directed by Eli Roth, who has like a few hit and misses with films recently. I think last year he had this horror film called Thanksgiving that got a lot of accolades. So it's not like he, is a total crap director. He had some successes. But besides that, we got Kate Blanchett playing as Lilith, Kevin Hart as Roland, Jack Black as Claptrap, Edgar Ramirez as Atlas, Ariana Greenblatt as Tiny Tina, Florian Montague as Krieg, Gina Gershon as Mad Moxie, and Jamie Lee Curtis as Patricia Tennis. Ugh. My God, there's a lot to say. But let's first go off the story. Lilith travels to Pandora, hired as a bounty by the owner of the weapons manufacturer named Atlas, who's looking for his daughter, Tina. And she was last seen with this soldier named Roland. So she travels to Pandora, ends up coming across Claptrap, and then eventually Tina. And almost forgot, the guy who plays Marcus, I think he's probably like the best one in all honesty. Benjamin Byron Davis. When I first, when I saw this dude roll up in his caravan, like in the games, like dude did like a spot on job with that character. I think like in terms of like proper, casting, he honestly was the only one from what I've saw. Of course, there was some we blink and you miss it at the end. Some cameo appearances with Ellie and the Catch a Ride guy, but not really speaking roles. But in any case, they Lilith runs into Tiny Tina and then ends up getting and Krieg, but they end up getting attacked by what else people blanking on the freaking names, those Commander Knox's forces. Commander Knox being played by Janina Gavankar. And Roland shows up, picks them all up, and they are Lilith has a job to take Atlas's daughter back to him, but it turns out this dude was a complete jerk, and he's looking for the Vault Key. Now, if you play the game, you know what the Vault keys are. It is alien artifacts. That's, you gather them together. They're supposed to open up, certain vaults that house, this gargantuan super weapons. Usually, they're alien beasts. If you play the game, you know. But so they need to, the MacGuffin. This is like one time the MacGuffin makes sense. I'm not saying they haven't always made sense, but if you know the game, you know what the main goal is. So they got like a easily written in MacGuffin. So they got to find like an expert on these artifacts. So then they end up going and find Tannis, who has a shaky relationship with Lilith because she's supposed to look after Lilith when she was like a young girl. When her mom, during some kind of raid, had her watch over Lilith for some kind of special task or whatever. It turns out that Tannis abandoned her with some raiders so that way she can, she ended up growing up knowing how to fight and shoot and survive, essentially. We also get a little backstory with Tina where she was like made in a lab, and turns out she's supposed to be the living vault key opener for at least the gate opener once they collect the necessary vault keys. So through they're fighting amongst different types of psychos and other hunters and stuff like that. It's discovered that Lilith is a siren who is the true key, because sirens are mystical beings in the world of the Borderlands franchise, where I say they're born once in every generation kind of thing. It's not like the Avatar or nothing like that. Every once in a while there will be a siren born. It's usually females. They're definitely always females. If you play the game, there's never been like a male siren. So Liv is actually the key, not Tina. Managing to open up the vault, they duke it out with Atlas and his forces. They kill Atlas and close the vault thing. Very short kind of stuff. I just, the story's simple, and I guess it can be, because if you play the games, there's tons of side missions and stuff like that. But if you play it, just the main story component is very one-to-one. But it's not simple in a good way. It's not like with like John Wick, where it's like, oh, kill my dog, fight some baddies, kill the guy who did it. But it's stuff along the journey that kind of makes the experience fruitful. And I'm not getting it here. A friend of mine asked like what I thought of the film, because he's planning on seeing it. Like, if you are a fan of the Borderlands, you might get some enjoyment out of it. But all in all, to the average goer, it's not going to be good. I kind of wish it was, because I was expecting this, because I didn't want Borderlands to be part of that long list of video game adaptations that suck, because we only got like a few that's really good. because even like something like Detective Pikachu, I argue is one of the best. The Sonic movie recently, that was very good. Uh, so there's like very few. I mean, there's a couple of others, but there's very few compared to a laundry list of bad video game adaptations. As a matter of fact, that's like another thing I want to do, like a ranking on like all the video game adaptations and rank how like from best to worst. But the story is kind of lackluster. The first, I want to start with the things that I did like. In terms of the casting, the guy who plays Marcus is like the only good casting in my opinion. His voice is like straight up like the actor for like Marcus Munitions in the game. Not even sure if that is actually the same guy. Because that guy is actually the voice of Dutch from the Red Dead Redemption games. That's wild. No, he was not the voice of Marcus from the video games, but he still did like an impressive job, man. It's like I actually thought it was the actual voice actor, which is kind of wild because it's like, why don't you? Because there's at least two people that you could have gotten for like, certain characters, but the biggest one being Claptrap. Why did you? It's because of the whole, Bowser Super Mario thing. That's probably why they hired Jack Black. But his portrayal as Bowser was impressive in the Mario movie, here it as Claptrap sucked. And it's like you could have just gotten the voice actor for Claptrap and avoided all of this. Don't know why you didn't do it. Because a lot of people, from what I'm hearing, really hated Claptrap in this film. And I get what they were trying to do, because if you play the games, Claptrap typically is annoying, but in a fun way. And I think that's credit to the voice actor who plays Claptrap, because it's still, he still does it in a way that's fun. I mean, you make a comparison side by side between the game and then the movie, it's night and day. Even though they both are portraying the annoyance type of character, one does it in a way that is like fun and entertaining. And it's like, I do not understand why you couldn't get the voice actor for that guy, for that particular character. Now, the other main cast is maybe aside from maybe the guy who plays Krieg, because he does come across like the Krieg, at least vocal performance, because most of the time he's behind the mask. Kudos for not really taking off the mask. At one point he gets cracked, you see the eye, but beyond that, thanks to just keeping that intact. Oh, the other good parts, the world of Pandora is very like spot on, and like we see them trying to go into this little small city on Pandora, and they had to wear like disguises and masks, very much like certain artworks of headgear that you can apply on to your character in the game. They kind of incorporate that, so I give it credit for that. I was like, wow, that is like straight up from the game. And yeah, so the setting and the atmosphere, they've done a very good job with bringing that to life. Sadly, it still wasn't enough to overcome like the pitfalls because we're following these characters. And I mentioned this many times before, and a lot of people mention this too. Now, mind you, this was first announced like a handful of years ago. And of course, it didn't help with the whole pandemic situation either, because they, had to shoot most of the stuff during the pandemic. But most of the casting is just miscast. For the most part, miscast. Because even though these are great actors in their own right, nobody is taking that away from them. However, you're bringing in maybe trying to adapt the first game, but in the first game you have like Brick, the tough guy, but you replace him with Krieg, and then there's Mordecai, who's more like not like a slick talker, but it's kind of like a Gambit type of attitude. But you got like Lilith, Roland, Brick, and Mordecai. It's supposed to have been like the main focal point. And then you of course got Tiny Tina and Claptrap. But those should have been like the main focus in this movie, because they're the main focus in the first game. Despite the fact you pick one of them to be your main, if you're adapting them, you can actually portray all of them as a team, because that's what they are. In the subsequent sequels, they are a team. They work together. Kevin Hart, Kate Blanchett, Ariana Greenblatt. I don't want to downplay Ariana Greenblatt. I think she, because a lot of these characters are older. The actors are playing characters that chronologically shouldn't be that old. Especially Kate Blanchett, who's like, 50 going on 60 at this point? And it's like, she looks good, and nobody's taking the fact that they're all great actors, okay? Let's get that out of the way. They're all great actors. Let's start with, what's the issue here. This is poor casting. Lilith in the first game, is in like 22 at that time. And by the time to Borderlands 3, she would have been like 34. So as I mentioned many times before, you could have gotten some fresh faces to portray these roles. That's the first thing. And if you're planning on a sequel or a trilogy or something like that, you can have these actors grow into the characters and then add more characters from the subsequent games into the cast. Like Zero and Ashton and stuff like, those people, and Maya, those people in the second game, they could be the main focus, while the previous characters are still around, but they're not the focus anymore. And you get like new, actors involved. I mean, because Hollywood doesn't like taking risks nowadays. This is, and this is going to prove their point why they don't want to take any risks, because, it's not going to turn out a profit for them. But I don't know. You could have gotten better writing. I'm not sure how many rewrites this must have gotten, but it did take a long time before this movie got released in the theaters. It doesn't bode well for that. But Kevin Hart, don't know why you need Kevin Hart. I know why they chose these people, because they're A-listers and you need guaranteed butts and seats. But like the Super Mario movie, despite the fact that it did well compared to this not doing well, it doesn't lay on the feet of the actors. It lays on the feet of the IP itself. People, by and large, are familiar with Super Mario. only the certain people who played the Borderlands games will be familiar with the Borderlands IP. But if you had better, the writing was, if the writing was good, then word of mouth would have gotten around. Then average goers will eventually start flocking to the theater to come see this film. It's like, but you wanted the Chris Pratt to make sure, all those Star-Lord fans out there come see your movie. Because that's the thing. The same thing with Disney recently. It's like you're trying to appease everybody just to get as much dollars as you can from everybody, but you're not going to appease everybody. Know who your core audience is. If you're making a film about a certain thing, like Borderlands, for example, make a solid premise. If you're going to adapt the first game, make sure it's, I want to say 1-to-1, but at least let it be the core of the narrative. Get the same team from the first game as the main cast. Hire new faces. Just rely on IP to draw in the core audience, which is the Borderlands fans. If you have good writing and the actor's doing a good job, then word will come around and the more people eventually come to see it. If they don't, they don't. You're not going to get everybody unless you brought out a good product. Kevin Hart is totally miscast. It's like he is not Roland. A lot of these people seem like they're cosplaying as the characters you see from the game, and it's just like, it's not. I mean, aside from maybe like the guy who played Marcus and Gina Gershon, who seems very like a good spot on, but like I said, is a lot of this seems so cosplay. I guess you can argue that with a lot of movies like the MCU and whatnot, but it's just, the only difference is the writing in that a lot of times is well done, and then you also got great actors to work in tandem with it. Sometimes the actors can overshadow bad writing, but not in this case. It's just terrible, man. I wish it was good because I like this franchise. And honestly, Jamie Lee Curtis is another one. Patricia Tennis got like like a brownish hair. Because they're young looking. Why you cast Jamie Lee Curtis in something like this? And yeah, sure, this is a nice bit of change in a lot of these actors' pockets, but they don't really need to be involved in this. Jamie Lee Curtis didn't need to be involved in this. It's her choice, sure, but it's just like, why do you want to like put your name to Borderlands? Like, do you even know what this is? Did your children or grandchildren ever play this freaking game? Like is like a wide variety of new actors. So like Ariana Greenblatt is one of those exceptions because she's relatively new to the acting game. She's been like a handful of stuff, but she's still new, so she's like the exception to the rule in terms of the main cast. But everybody else, you could have gotten some other person, like somebody taller for Roland. This is like somebody's nephew trying to play as Roland. And Roland is like a soldier, and got has like a kind of tough exterior, kind of jokey or like easygoing in a way, but of course you can't get you kind of have like the Sam Jackson kind of attitude, but not Sam Jackson. You could have gotten somebody at least of average height, somebody bald because Roland is bald headed. Just I don't know. You could at least maybe got the guy who was Jax in the recent Mortal Kombat film, who was also Jimmy Olsen on the Supergirl show. You could have gotten maybe him to play as Roland. like, and Roland's also, kind of muscular, so he can just, work out a little bit. Uh, but you can get somebody relatively young to play as Lilith. It's like none of these require A-list actors. It makes no freaking sense. It's like, and honestly, like I said, like just like Jamie Lee Curtis, why does somebody on somebody's like on like Kate Blanchett's caliber, why she needs to feel the need to like attach her name to something like this? She doesn't need this. This movie's like somebody like Nick Cage when he was on this like downward spiral, or Robert Downey Jr. when he was on this downward spiral, will get involved with something like this because he needs the money kind of situation. Other than that, you could have gotten some, fresher face actors. Whether or not this would have done well. Oh, and that's another thing. The budget on this is not crazy as saying, not like the Marvels, but it's like $110 to $120 million. A lot of that probably went to the main cast, especially Kate Blanchett and Kevin Hart, which obviously they're not cheap. But you could have gotten some people on the same level as Ariana Greenblatt, who probably doesn't cost that freaking much, so you can put the most of the budget into other things. But yeah, this is not like I said. The only positive things was the atmosphere, because that's very like, okay, this is like the Borderlands world. You kind of brought it to life, so kudos to that. The guy who was like played as like Marcus, very spot on Marcus. Like kudos to that. And even Ariana Greenblatt, who has been in stuff that I really like, she is not Tiny Tina. You could have gotten somebody. You could have gotten that girl who was that young Princess Leia. You could have gotten her to be Tiny Tina, because Tiny Tina in the first game would probably been half the age of Ariana Greenblatt, because Ariana is like 16 years old right now, currently. So it could have been like half her age, if not maybe 10. So that way you can like, have that angsty young little twerp attitude kind of thing. It's just, I don't know. A lot of this stuff is off. It's like, it's not the worst thing I've seen. I've seen worse. Acolyte. But this is not good. I mean, oof. And I feel bad because like I really wanted this to succeed because I love the Borderlands franchise. One of my favorite video game IPs. But those is my quick thoughts. I really got not much to say. It's very rare that I come across a movie. I just quick review like that. I couldn't like. It wasn't much of a struggle to find like good things. I made sure like I look out for some good stuff. Like I said, the atmosphere, the world, very spot on. I saw the little Easter eggs here and there, and I'm glad you acknowledged that. Clearly, they did a research, which I give them credit for, because most adaptation was probably half-assed that. Like, who is this made for? Clearly, you can tell they made this for Borderlands fans, but they kind of skipped a few steps here. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Borderlands film. I wish I had better stuff to say, but that's about it. I will see you guys a little later to continue on with my reaction video of Destiny's 2. I'm going to start off with the Lightfall section. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of the Borderlands film. Is there any good things about it that you actually liked? Let me know. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.